Hello everybody, welcome to another quick video. Now a bit of a strange one this week because I realised it's roughly a year since I took delivery of the OM-1. So today we'll have a wander around the Idle Valley Nature Reserve. Got the 300 on, Tracy's got the 40 to 150. We'll see what sort of things we can find. Don't know what it'll be, it's quite windy, so we'll see what happens. But as usual at the moment, I'll pop some shots up at the end for you so you can have a look. But yeah, we'll have a wander around, have a bit of a chat what my findings have been over the past 12 months and whether there's any regrets or things I wish I'd done differently. So it was at this time last year that I'd taken delivery of the OM-1, had a bit of a play with it. Obviously I've already had the OM-1 Mark II, which I'm filming on now. Had that one a while, got used to the system fairly well, but the OM-1 was definitely a quantum leap forward in capability and speed. Definitely it was enough for me to say, right, okay, that's enough, sell the full frame gear and sort of put it toward the cost of the OM-1. And that was only the start of the journey really. I'd already got a couple of lenses which, yeah, were okay. I bought the OM-1 with the 12 to 40 Pro 2 as part of the kit, and that sort of swayed me into sort of what sort of quality you can get from this pro level glass, and that's kind of sort of set the scene for the journey I've been on over the past 12 months really. So the first comparison I made really between sort of the 5D Mark IV I was running from Canon and the OM-1 was the feel in the hand. And the Mark II felt, yeah, fairly good, the OM-1 Mark II. But you could tell it was definitely a much smaller camera because it's got a reasonable sized hand, so the Mark IV 5D really sort of fit into the hand perfectly. But the OM-1, the way they've actually sort of reshaped the grip, basically fits my hand perfectly. It feels very natural and very comfortable, which is something, you know, I wasn't sure about until it arrived. I knew, obviously seeing the reviews, that, you know, some changes had been made and sort of some improvements to the ergonomics were sort of put in place, but I wasn't expecting to be quite that comfortable. The other thing that was a real big sort of improvement, certainly over sort of the Mark II and still even on sort of Tracy's OM-1 Mark III, is you've actually got a dedicated back button focusing button, which feels perfectly placed just on the back of your thumb, which works really, really nicely. Something that for me was a really sort of handy upgrade because I've been used to that very much so with the Canon 5D Mark IV. So at least sort of hit focus, bam, you've got it. Made things a lot easier. So one thing I used to do quite a bit of with the Canon was wildlife. I got the Sigma 150 to 600 lens, which was an absolute beast of a lens, to the point of if I was taking that out, I'd always suffer for it. And it's the sort of thing that got me sort of thinking, is this the right sort of thing for me? With the Canon 5D Mark IV and the Sigma lens on, I was hauling around about 4 kilogram of kit just over my shoulder. And literally sort of, I'd spend a couple of hours out on site and I wasn't enjoying it. It just wasn't an enjoyable experience, which for me is what photography is about. It's not my profession, it's something I go out there and enjoy, and it reduced the fact of sort of being able to go out and enjoy it. I mean, essentially I had sort of 3 main lenses I used. I had the Sigma 150 to 600, the Canon 24 to 105 ELV lens, and I actually had a Sigma 105mm macro, which is an absolute cracking lens, really sort of strong prime, but that was what I was working with. And if I carry those 3 together, I'll be carrying around sort of 10 kilogram of kit each time, and it just wasn't enjoyable. So back in, actually it was sort of October 2021, I bought the OM-1 Mark I, the original one, just because I wanted to see what the system was like and whether it would be something that, yeah, I could use initially just to augment the sort of the 5D work and sort of use it for a bit of video. And it was all right. It impressed me that much in the December I bought the OM-1 Mark II, and that I use sort of a lot. I found myself leaving the Canon at home and taking the the Olympus with me instead. I bought the 14 to 150 normal lens. I use that a lot. Great range, pretty good quality as well. And that really was the point when they announced the OM-1. I saw the spec sheet that they were putting out there and pre-ordered it straight away. And obviously then the waiting game started. So I was waiting for the OM-1 to arrive. I then bought the Olympus 75-300 lens. And I used that a few times on the Mark II, and it wasn't a bad lens. You got a little bit of flare and a little bit of softness depending on sort of what sort of zoom level you were at. But in general, it was a good lens. But then obviously sort of mid-March came and got an email saying that the OM-1 had shipped. So a couple of days later, it turns up, and then the fun began. So I found out more about what the OM-1 was like to use, and sort of more specifically with the 75-300, doing the wildlife and the AI focusing, and it was absolutely fantastic. But then I started using the 12-40 lens, the Pro one, and the difference in clarity between the normal lens, which is very good, and the Pro was absolutely stunning. And that kind of set me on the path for sort of replacing all my gear with the Pro kit. The first thing I did was tried a couple of the bigger lenses, like the 100-400 Olympus and the Panasonic one. I actually did a shootout video as well. They're good, but I then bought the 300 Pro, and that is a phenomenal piece of glass. It's not the lightest, it's nowhere near as heavy as the full frame versions, but it's a 300mm prime lens, and you can really tell the difference in it. It looks stupidly sharp. You've got the Sync IS, so you've got really good stability with it as well. Even when you drop the teleconverter on, it doesn't really sort of affect it that much. You can tell a slight difference, but it doesn't affect it that much. So that was it. I was sort of hooked onto the Pro glass, and that sort of set the scene for the rest of the year really. I've gone through, sort of replaced the 12-40 with the 12-100. That's stunning. That stays on the camera most of the time. Brilliant piece of glass, so versatile, and an absolutely sort of astounding quality image from it every single time. Really, really impressive. Other Pro glass I've got the 40-150. That's a fairly recent one. I mean, Tracy's been using that more, has been out and about, so she's been enjoying that one. Again, works well with the teleconverter and gives you a decent sort of size with a 1.4 teleconverter on. You're over 400mm sort of full frame equivalent, so yeah, you get a reasonable amount of zoom from it, and the image is nice and clean, which is the main thing. The other stuff that I went to, maybe a little extravagant. I bought the 9-18mm wide angle. I've used it a few times, but it's the sort of thing it's light enough just to leave in the bag for if you do need it. But other than that, yeah, looks like I've got 30mm macro. Again, small, light. Gives you sort of options on that side of things, but it's given me a complete change in the way that I've been able to do photography. Before, like I say, I was carrying stuff around and I was absolutely exhausted by the end of the day because, yeah, the weight of everything. I can now carry. I mean, I've got Mark II that I'm filming on now with the 12-50 on. In the bag, I've got the smaller 9-18. I've got the macro still in there as well. And on the OM-1 I've got the 300. I can walk around like this all day long. It doesn't really bother me too much. The OM-1 and the 300, I think it's about 1.3 kilograms all in. It's not a lot really. Comparison to sort of carting around the 4 kilogram, which I was doing before, yeah, massive difference, and it's completely reinvigorated my photography. So I found there was quite a few changes that I made with sort of the type of photography I was doing as well. Because things were a bit lighter, I could carry sort of bits and pieces out and about. And I apologise now if there's any wind noise on this, it's just suddenly got really, really windy. But we got, obviously, the lighter weight. It meant I can get bit more of a hiking, and I started going places like the Lake District, and that sort of changed things for me. Before I was never really sort of much of a landscape photographer. I was more into the wildlife, the woodland, so that, cause, yeah, really I couldn't just carry the stuff around, and it just changed things for me. It gave me that new sort of lease of sort of adventure and sort of been able to get out and about, and so I've done quite a few. Actually going back up to the Lake District again soon, which not sure what we're going to be doing exactly yet, but yeah, that is on the cards. But there's quite a lot of some extra bits that I've been able to do that I certainly wouldn't have been able to do with the Canon, just for the weight of it. Like I say, historically it's the sort of thing that I gained tendinitis through work, and that restricts the amount that I can carry for any period of time, or sort of what I can do with it, which is a real shame, but it is unfortunately the way of things and sort of the part of getting older, unfortunately. So yeah, it's enabled me to do a lot more than I would have done with the Canon, and look there, I've been able to see more things as well. I've not been tethered by sort of the heavy stuff and stuff like that, so yeah, it's made a big difference. So are there any things that I regret about moving away from full frame? Not really. There's a couple of things that I used to do occasionally, which was like astrophotography, which I've not really tried with the OM-1. I've seen some shots that people have done, and yeah, they do look pretty good, but I'm not expecting to have that level of depth that I got with the full frame camera. It's not too much of a problem, it's not something that, yeah, I'll go out there and do regularly anyway, so it's not really sort of restricted me as such. The other thing that it is better than it used to be. On the Mark II I used to suffer with focus hunting. So you pick a subject, especially if it's a bird, you pick a subject, it'd move and you'd lose the focus, and occasionally it'd go, no, can't see it, and it'd start hunting around. The OM-1's a lot better than the M1 Mark II for that. Still gets it occasionally, just refuses to pick it up, but I think that's the same with any mirrorless system. In fact, I used to find it sometimes with the 5D Mark IV. You pick something, think it's there, and it just wouldn't pick the focus out. But yeah, it's a minor thing. It's not really sort of too much of an issue. Did try the aviation side of things. Went to RIAT, the Royal International Air Tattoo, last July with the 300 on. Formed absolutely faultlessly. Got some really nice shots of the planes and sort of had a great day of it. But it's not something that, like I say, I do all the time. But yeah, it's been a great year of learning, exploring. I still only use a fraction of what the OM-1 can do as well. There's so much that I've not really sort of got into that really I should do. I should sort of break it out and sort of try experimenting a bit more. But it's that usual things like you get used to what you know, and you quite enjoy sort of the experience of being out and not worrying about, oh, is this going to work, is that going to work? You can just play it, and you know as soon as you hit the shutter you've got a fairly reasonable shot out of it. So the big question would be, if I've not sort of had the health issues, would I have actually considered going to Mark IV/3? Is that sort of thing? There's a big push people, you've got to get big, you've got to have full frame, you've got to have medium format. The quality is not going to be as good or anything like that. I've found exactly the opposite. So much so, like I say, even before I'd actually switched fully over to the OM-1, I was taking out the M1 Mark II more than the 5D, just because the experience was a lot nicer and the quality of the images is just as good. As far as sort of usability goes, yeah, maybe the sort of the top screen on the 5D Mark IV, that's handy, so you can just at a glance just look at what you've got. But with having the live sort of viewfinders with the mirrorless cameras, you really don't need it. You just look through the viewfinder, you've got all the detail that you need. You can flick through the different screens. It's not a problem at all. So yeah, it's been, yeah, sort of something that I think I probably would switch over. The key to it is ignore the group of sort of, a lot of it's like in the press as well. Ignore what they're saying. Mark IV/3 isn't an inferior format. Yes, it does suffer a little bit from sort of a small lack of dynamic range with having the smaller sensor, and maybe, you know, sort of, you get a little bit more noise at sort of really dark conditions, but it's manageable and you can cope with it. As long as you know how to shoot in lower light, it's not a problem at all. it's a fantastic format, and I think there's definitely a lot of life in it, especially with interesting. Panasonic just releasing their new S5 II full frame hybrid camera. It's the first one they've ever done with phase detect autofocus. Now, if they can increase their range of Mach 4/3 with the phase detect as well, that brings them in line with the Olympus and the OM system stuff, and sort of raises the game again. So yeah, it'd be absolutely fantastic to see that in there. But yeah, definitely the system is not dead. It's alive, it's thriving, and the usability is absolutely astounding. One of the other things I did find, more specifically when I sort of started playing with the 300, was it's not just a wildlife lens. You can do some fantastic tele macro because it's quite a wide open lens at f4. You can get some really nice effects from it. I tend to find it with most of the Olympus lenses actually. They do seem to have quite a lot of versatility that you wouldn't expect to be in there. I mean, obviously it's 12 months on. I'll pop a link to the video they did, sort of up there somewhere. I'll also pop a link down below as well for those that aren't watching on mobile devices. When I decided I'd quit the full frame and sort of moved into Mach 4/3. Yeah, I definitely haven't looked back. It's been brilliant. And I found there's absolutely nothing that I've not been able to do with sort of the lenses I've got. So the 300 Pro, that is an astonishing lens. It's much clearer than the Sigma I had on the camera, so I've actually got an improvement on that. The tracking is fantastic. I wish I could actually track a bird in flight. I can't do it. I'm actually bloody hopeless at it. But I know if I could switch on my ability to actually track, pile on the high-speed shutter, and I can just get clean shots all day. There was a big thing about the Sony being sort of better at tracking birds. Mike Hall, who's a big wildlife photographer, was shooting Sony for a while, but he sort of tried the OM-1 and ended up switching over to it because he was actually getting better results with the OM-1 than he was with his Sony A7R4. So yeah, not a bad sort of bit of work with that. And it's that sort of thing. It's not a be all and end all. You've got to have full frame, you've got to pay the penalty of the extra weight and stuff like that. The quality's there, it's absolutely astounding. So I noticed a few comments sort of through the year. People have also said they've been considering changing. Is it something you've done? Have you changed over to Mach 4/3 from full frame, or have you gone the other way? Is it something that you've sort of decided you wanted to go the other side of it? Drop us a comment down below. Let's have a bit of a chat about it. But for now, we're just about sort of heading to sort of the end of the trail. I'm going to try and get some more shots, get some up at the end for you. I'd like to say a big thank you as well to all the subscribers. Got above 1,000, which is fantastic. That was my aim for 2023. Nothing about chasing numbers. I just wanted to get the 1,000 subs. Just a bit of a milestone, really. Just say, yeah, I've actually done it. So yeah, thank you to all subscribers. And if you're not subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button. Every little helps, as they say. And if you like the video, please do give us a big thumbs up. But for now, we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Take care.
I built up walls like mansions to the sky. Protect my heart so it would survive. But you climbed in like no one else could do. The day I knew I needed you, I was drifting out, safe from any shore. Didn't want to get hurt anymore, but you pulled me in like no one else could do. The day I knew I needed you, I was complicated, you made perfect sense. I was slowly breaking. perfect sense. I was slowly breaking, but you knew how to mend. We're searching for some answers.